Imagine sitting at home, scrolling through the news, and suddenly everyone is talking about the union budget again. Numbers are flying around, experts are debating on TV, and you're thinking, okay, but what does any of this actually mean for me and for my country? In this video, I want to talk to you about Budget 2026-27 in a very simple manner, as if you and I are just having a normal conversation. No heavy jargons, no complex economic theories, just clear, easy explanations. This year's budget is important because it focuses a lot on a few big themes like manufacturing, small businesses or MSMEs, certain tax rules, the financial sector and stock markets, AI and green technology, and also areas like tourism, education, sports, and the creative economy. If you stay with me till the end, you will have a clear picture of what direction the government is taking and how it might affect your future. Hello everyone and welcome to the Fintelligent Investor channel. I am CA Pratiksha Pai. If you feel that my talking speed is slow, you can watch on a faster speed. The relevant timestamps are also given. So let's dive in. Let's start with the big picture before we jump into the details. The government is calling this a youth-driven budget. The idea is that the energy and talent of young people should drive India towards becoming a developed country in the coming few decades. They also say they want to balance ambition with inclusion, which basically means grow fast but don't leave people behind. Economically, they are trying to do a few things at the same time. They want the growth to stay high, around 7%. That means the size of the economy should keep increasing at a good pace. At the same time, they want inflation to stay moderate so that prices do not rise too fast and hurt common people. They also talk about fiscal discipline, which means the government does not want to overspend and take too much debt. And they want overall stability so that businesses and investors feel confident. They mentioned that over the last few years, more than 350 reforms have been carried out. These includes things like simplifying GST, bringing in new labor laws, and improving standards and regulations around the quality. The central government is also working with the state governments to reduce unnecessary compliances and make it easier to do business. Think of India like a large company. This budget is like the company's yearly plan. How will it spend? Where will it invest? How it will reduce waste? And how it will grow faster and more safely. Focus area 1, manufacturing. Now let's talk about one of the biggest focus areas of this budget, manufacturing. Why is manufacturing such a big deal? Because when a country produces more goods inside its own borders, several good things happen. People get jobs in factories and related services. The country will need to import lesser and it saves on foreign currency. It can also export more, which brings in money from other countries. And for important items like chips, batteries, or defense equipment, manufacturing at home means you are less dependent on others. In this budget, there is a whole section called manufacturing, strategic and frontier sectors. Frontier sectors simply means advanced, future-looking industries. The government is pushing semiconductors through something called India Semiconductor Mission 2.0. If you think of every phone, laptop, car, or machine that you use, there is a tiny chip inside it. Right now, India imports most of these chips. The mission is about building that chip ecosystem within the country so we are not at the mercy of global disruptions. Then there is Biopharma Shakti, which is focused on very advanced medicines, vaccines, and biotech products. This is about strengthening India's position in the high-end pharmaceuticals, not just basic generics. There is a separate scheme for electronic components manufacturing. Earlier, we often imported small parts and only assembled the final product here. Now, the idea is let's make those parts as well. So instead of just putting the final phone together, we also make more of what goes inside the phone. That increases value added inside India. For textiles, there is an integrated program to modernize the sector. Textile manufacturing is still a big source of jobs, especially for women. So making this sector more productive matters. They are also setting up 3 dedicated chemical parks. Chemicals are inputs into many other industries like pharma, plastics, and paints. Dedicated parks with proper infrastructure can make the whole value chain more efficient and competitive. Another interesting area is container manufacturing. During global disruptions, we saw how shortage of shipping containers can affect trade. India wants to build more containers domestically so that we are not stuck in such situations again. Then there is a scheme for rare earth permanent magnets. These magnets are needed in electric vehicles, wind turbines, modern electronics, and many other advanced products. This scheme covers research, mining, processing, and manufacturing of these magnets in India. This is directly linked to future technologies and clean energy. The budget also talks about creating high tech tool rooms in public sector enterprises. Tool rooms are where special tools and molds for manufacturing are made. If these are modern and high quality, then many industries, especially smaller ones, can benefit by using them. There is even a dedicated initiative to manufacture affordable sports goods so India becomes a bigger player in sports equipment, both for local use as well as for exports. And on top of all this, there is a plan to revive 200 legacy industrial clusters. These are older industrial areas that have weakened over time. The idea is to help them to upgrade and become active engines of growth again. Now, just announcing schemes is one thing. To really help manufacturers, you also need supportive tax rules, and this budget has quite a few. For example, if a foreign company provides machinery, equipment, or special tooling to a tall manufacturer in a bonded zone, the income they earn from that can be exempt from income tax for 5 years. That makes it more attractive for global partners to bring advanced equipment here. There is also a safe harbor for non residents who store components in bonded warehouses in India. Trusted manufacturers get a deferred duty payment window, which means they do not need to pay customs duty immediately. This helps in their cash flow. Export oriented sectors like seafood get a boost also in this budget. The limit for duty free imports of certain inputs that are used to process seafood for exports has gone up from 1% to 3% of last year's export value. That reduces their cost. Similar support is given to footwear and garment exporters. They get more time to export after importing inputs. The window has increased from 6 months to 1 year. This allows for better planning and lesser stress. On the customs side, parts used in microwave ovens, components for aircraft manufacturing, and raw materials for aircraft parts used in defense maintenance and repair are exempted from basic customs duty. That lowers the cost of building these things here inside India. Trusted importers with long term clean records will be recognized in the risk system. Plus, export cargo with electronic seals can go straight from factory to ship, saving time and reducing paperwork. There is also a one time special measure for manufacturing units in SEZs, allowing them to sell some goods in the domestic market at a concessional duty rate. That gives them more flexibility. So overall on manufacturing, the message is clear. The government wants more high value production to happen inside the country, and it is adjusting both schemes and taxes to support that. Focus area 2, MSMEs. Now let's talk about MSMEs, which are micro, small and medium enterprises. Think of small factories, workshops, service providers and local brands and many startups. These businesses create a huge number of jobs, but they usually struggle with three things: getting growth capital, dealing with delayed payments, and managing complex compliances. The budget takes a three-way approach: equity support, liquidity support, and professional support. First, equity. There is a 10,000 crore rupee SME growth fund that will invest in small and medium enterprises as equity, not just loans. The Self Reliant India Fund from 2021 is also getting an extra 2,000 crore rupees. Equity is important because it does not burden the entrepreneur with a fixed EMI payments every month, and it allows the business to take some risk and grow. Second is liquidity. This is about cash flow, especially delayed payments. Many MSMEs supply goods or services to bigger companies or to government entities, and then they have to wait for months to get their money. To deal with this, the budget pushes the TREADS platform. TREADS is an online system where MSMEs can upload their invoices to large buyers like public sector companies. Banks and finance companies can then see those invoices and give short-term finance against these invoices. In this budget, TREADS is going to be mandatory for all purchases from MSMEs by the central public sector enterprises. That is a big deal. On top of that, there will be a credit guarantee mechanism through the CGTMSE for invoice discounting on TREADS. This means banks feel safer providing funds because part of the risk is guaranteed by the government. The government's own e-procurement platform, GEM, will be linked with TREADS to make the whole process faster and cheaper. And the receivables on TREADS will be turned into asset-backed securities, which basically lets investors buy these bundles of invoices and provide more liquidity to the system. So in simple words, instead of an MSME waiting 90 days to get paid, it can sell its invoice quickly on TREADS and get most of the money within a few days. And the bank is protected by a guarantee that can dramatically improve cash flow for small businesses. Third is professional support. Many MSMEs find compliance rules confusing and expensive. The government wants to work with professional institutions to create corporate mitras in smaller cities. These are basically advisors who can help MSMEs to handle compliances and regulatory requirements at a reasonable cost. There is also a helpful change for small exporters. Currently, courier exports have a value cap of rupees 10 lakh per consignment. That cap is being removed. So merchants shipping multiple small orders abroad, especially via e-commerce, get more flexibility. Taken together, these steps show that the government sees MSMEs not just as small players, but as champions that can grow if they are given proper capital, timely payment, and help with the compliances. Focus area 3, financial sector, markets, and taxes. Let's move to the financial sector and tax changes which matter if you are an investor, a trader, or just a regular taxpayer. On the financial side, the budget proposes a high-level committee on banking for a developed India, whose job will be to think about how the banking system should evolve for the next stage of growth. It also talks about restructuring the Power Finance Corporation and the Rural Electrification Corporation, which are large lenders to the power and infrastructure sector. The idea is to align them better with the current needs and improve efficiency. There is a plan for a comprehensive review of the FEMA rules for non-debt instruments, basically making it smoother and clearer for foreign investors to put money into India through equity and similar channels. To deepen the bond market, the budget talks about introducing a market making framework and total return swaps on corporate bonds. These tools can help investors trade bonds more easily and make the bond market more liquid. There is also an incentive of 100 crore rupees if a city issues a municipal bond of more than 1000 crore rupees. This reward is meant to encourage more cities to raise money directly from the market to finance their infrastructure instead of depending only on grants. The existing Amrut scheme will continue alongside. Now, if you or someone you know trades in derivatives, the STT changes are important. The securities transaction tax on futures is being raised from 0.02% to 0.05%. On options premium, it is going up from 0.1% to 0.15%. And on the exercise of options, it is increasing from 0.125% to 0.15%. This may sound small, but for active FNO traders, it increases transaction costs. It sends a signal that the government is okay with slightly discouraging very high volume speculative trading and also wants to collect a bit more revenue from that segment. Let's now talk about broader tax and compliance ease. If you live outside India but are classified as a person resident outside India for rules, you will be allowed to invest in listed Indian shares through the Portfolio Investment Scheme, which formalizes and smoothens foreign participation. A very positive step is that interest from motor accident claim tribunal awards received by individuals will not be taxed and there will be no TDS on that amount. This ensures that victims actually receive the full benefit. Then there are changes in TCS, that is the tax collected at source. For overseas tour packages, the TCS rate is being brought down to 2%, and this rate applies without any threshold limit. For education and medical remittances under the liberalized remittance scheme, the TCS is reduced from 5% to 2%. That eases the burden on families sending money abroad for genuine reasons. On TDS, that is taxes deducted at source, the rate on supply of manpower services is being standardized at 1 or 2%. The process of getting a lower or nil TDS certificate will become automated and rule based for small taxpayers, so they do not have to run around the officers as much. If you are an investor with shares in multiple companies, depositories will now be allowed to accept your Form 15G or 15H centrally instead of you giving it again and again. That makes it easier to avoid unnecessary TDS if your income is below the taxable limit. The time allowed to revise an income tax return is being extended from 31st December to 31st March of the assessment year, though with a small fee. Also, individuals filing ITR 1 and ITR 2 will still have till 31st July, whereas non-audit business cases and trusts are planned to get time till 31st August. For property sold by non-residents, TDS will now be deducted and deposited using the buyer's PAN, removing the need for a separate TAN. That reduces friction for resident buyers and NRIs both. The budget also introduces a one-time 6-month foreign asset disclosure scheme for small taxpayers. This gives people a chance to declare smaller foreign assets without facing extremely harsh consequences. Even after reassessment proceedings have started, taxpayers will be allowed to update their returns by paying an additional 10% tax over and above the normal rate. The idea is to encourage voluntary correction instead of long disputes. The framework for immunity from penalty and prosecution, which previously applied mainly to underreporting, is extended in certain ways to cases of misreporting as well, under defined conditions. Some offenses, like not producing books of accounts or certain tedious payment issues, are being decriminalized. This means they might still attract penalties or interest, but not criminal prosecution. There is also retrospective immunity from prosecution for non disclosure of foreign assets, excluding immovable property, with an aggregate value below rupees 20 lakh from 1st October 2024. On the minimum alternate tax side, all non residents taxed on a presumptive basis will be exempt from MAT. MAT is also proposed to become the final tax, and taxpayers can use their MAT credit to reduce up to one fourth of their tax liability in the new regime. For share buybacks, the tax treatment is changing so that the buyback proceeds are treated as capital gains for all shareholders. But promoters will pay an additional buyback tax. Another important move is that basic customs duty will not be charged on 17 specific drugs and medicines for cancer patients, which should lower the cost of treatment using those medicines. To speed up trade, the government plans a single digital window for cargo clearance approvals and a new customs integrated system within 2 years. Honest taxpayers will be allowed to close disputes by paying an additional amount instead of facing long penalty processes. So, overall, the tax and financial part of the budget is a mix of slightly higher costs for speculative trading, but easier compliance, more automation, and a more forgiving system for genuine or smaller mistakes. Focus area number 4: AI, green tech, tourism, education, and sports. Let's now look at a more future facing and human facing parts: AI, green technology, tourism, education, and sports. The budget clearly states that cutting edge technologies, including AI, will be used as force multipliers. That means they want to use AI to improve governance, allocate capital better in the financial system, and manage risks more intelligently. In agriculture, there is an initiative called Bharat Vistar, which links various agri-stack portals and the agricultural practice packages of ICAR with AI systems. In simpler terms, this means digital platforms that store information on farms, crops, and best practices will be combined with artificial intelligence to give farmers a better, more customized advice. On the green technology front, there is a large 20,000 crore rupees scheme for carbon capture, utilization, and storage, often called CCUS. The budget also extends the custom duty exemptions for capital goods used in making lithium ion cells for battery storage. Batteries are essential for storing renewable energy from solar and wind. It removes the basic customs duty on sodium antimonate, which is used in manufacturing solar glass. Solar glass is a critical component of what? Of solar panels. There is an extension of duty exemption on goods imported for nuclear power projects till 2035, and it now applies to all nuclear plants, no matter their size. Similarly, capital goods needed to process critical minerals in India get duty exemption. These minerals are necessary for batteries, electronics, and many high tech products. Also, when it comes to biogas blended CNG, the entire value of biogas is excluded from central excise duty. This makes cleaner fuel blends more attractive. The budget also invests in the creative economy, often called as the orange economy. It sets up AVGC content creator labs, that is, labs for animation, visual effects, gaming, and comics in 15,000 secondary schools and 500 colleges. It also announces a new National Institute of Design in Eastern India. This is about encouraging more young people to choose design, animation, gaming, and other creative fields as serious careers. Tourism gets a strong push too. There will be a national destination digital knowledge grid that digitally documents all the important places. Eco friendly mountain trails, turtle trails, and bird watching trails will be developed in selected states. India will host the first ever global Big Cat Summit, which combines conservation and tourism. 15 archaeological sites will be upgraded into vibrant, experiential cultural destinations. A pilot scheme will upskill 10,000 tourist guides in 20 iconic sites to improve how tourists experience these places. A National Institute of Hospitality will be set up to connect hospitality education with industry and government. The budget also talks about developing Buddhist circuits in the Northeast, which involves basically developing places of Buddhist importance. The budget also allocates amounts towards supporting states to create 5 medical tourism hubs with private partners. This is where people can come for treatment. On education front, the budget plans 5 university townships near major industrial and logistic corridors. This means universities will be designed close to where factories and logistical hubs are, so that education is more connected to actual industry and jobs. There will also be a girls' hostel in higher education STEM institutions in every district, which improves the access for women in science and technology fields. In addition, 4 telescope infrastructure facilities will be created and upgraded, which supports advanced research and astronomy. On sports, the Khelo India mission is being strengthened further. The idea is to create a full talent development pathway and to improve coaching systematically and to integrate science and technology into training and to build more sports infrastructure. Combined with the manufacturing push for sports goods, this shows that sports are seen both as health and youth issue and as well as a business opportunity. Conclusion. Let me quickly bring everything together. This budget is trying to keep the growth high and stable, control prices, and reduce government debt gradually. It pushes strongly on manufacturing in advanced sectors like semiconductors, biopharma, chemicals, critical minerals, and aircraft parts, and also supports more everyday sectors like textiles and sports goods. It treats MSMEs as central to the growth story and gives them better access to equity, faster payments, and compliance help. On the financial side, it strengthens banks and bond markets, encourages municipal bonds, and slightly increases the cost of speculative FNO trading through a higher STT. On the tax side, it simplifies many processes, reduces TCS in important areas like education and medical remittances, decriminalizes some offenses, and opens window for voluntary correction and disclosure. At the same time, it prepares for the future by supporting AI, clean energy technologies, carbon capture, batteries, solar, nuclear, and critical minerals. It invests in creative industries, tourism, hospitality, education, and sports so the next generation can grow not just in terms of money but also in terms of skills, opportunities, and quality of life. If you have stayed with me till now, you already understand this budget better than most people scrolling the headlines. If you want, in separate videos, we can go deeper into just one area, like, for example, only manufacturing or MSMEs or only tax changes or only green tech and AI. Tell me in the comments which topic you want next. If you found this helpful, please leave a like and consider sharing it with someone who gets confused by budget discussions. And of course, subscribe for more clear, beginner friendly explanations on the economy, markets, and policy. We will come up with more videos on finance and taxes. Till then, stay subscribed, stay connected. Thank you.